Okay, we'll go ahead and call the regular meeting of the Yosemite Community College District Board of Trustees for April 11, 2018 to order. And first, I want to thank everybody for being here. Now, if I could all get you to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now item 3.2, report out from closed session. We have nothing to report out except for the fact that Trustee Beggs recused herself in relationship to item 2.3, negotiations with YFA. We'll now move on to item 3.3, approval of minutes of the March 14, 2018 Board of Trustees regular meeting. I'll give my fellow trustees a few moments to review that, and then I'll entertain a motion to approve. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? So moved by Trustee Viss. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee DeMartini. Any further comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We'll move on now to public comment. Remember, these are items, you can speak on items that are not on the posted agenda. Since we have a number of requests this evening, again, I will ask that try not to be repetitive. We want to hear what you have to say. So if you have anything, new ideas or whatever, we want to hear from you. We want to hear from the heart of what you think is going on. And again, just try not to be repetitive. Limits to 5 minutes, and I request that you respect that. So again, we can hear from everybody. So our first one this evening, and forgive me if I pronounce it, Harman Sadhu. I get that right? All right. Thank you. Right up to the podium there. Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Harman Sidhu. I'm a student at MJC. The reason why I'm here today is because I know that the board loves hearing from the students, and I have something I'd like to share with you. I've been following the recent contract negotiations between the faculty in the district and have been concerned about district proposals to increase class sizes and its failure to honor the cohort agreement. I am also extremely concerned about compensation and due process for adjunct faculty. The fact that our professors who are in classrooms teaching us English, math, science, our professors who agree to be club advisors, who agree to help create pathway programs to help us pave our educational roadmap, our professors who agree to work with us in the honors program, our professors who know us well enough to write personalized letters of recommendation when we apply to universities. The fact that our professors who do so much for us students may be forced to plan a strike in the fall breaks my heart. The fact that adjuncts have to work second and sometimes even third jobs to survive because they're being paid less than what the cohort agreement says they ought to be paid breaks my heart. When I first enrolled at MJC, I was working a terrible sales job. I was planning on majoring in business because I heard business majors make the most money. I enrolled in a few general ed classes. One of them was Philosophy 101 with Dr. Tristan Hassel. That class turned me into a philosophy major. Reading and writing philosophy made me feel good, a type of good that money can't buy. I love philosophy because it demands something from me. It forces me to be better in thought, word, and deed. The more I read philosophy, the more human I feel. And because I'm feeling more human, I've begun to treat myself and others as human. Last year, I joined the philosophy club. Eventually, I became vice president of the club. And this semester, when our president stepped down, I stepped up and became president of the club. I also stepped into to take on the role of inter-club council representative for philosophy club. I joined the Democratic Club and became the treasurer. I've worked closely with our club advisors, Dr. Tristan Hassel, Professor Bellinelli, counseling coordinator Judith Martinez, and program specialist Megan Lee to learn how to manage budgets, write an agenda, follow Robert's Rule of Order, and to organize events. Last week, we held a very successful justice system candidate forum that invited the community to meet candidates for judge, sheriff, and DA in Stanislaus County. We heard presentations from the candidates and asked many questions. The pride that we felt as students was priceless. As interclub council representative for my club, I gained an opportunity to meet other clubs, go to their meetings, participate in shared governance, and make new friends. Yesterday, the interclub council held elections, and I won the position of interclub council speaker for the 2018 and 2019 school year. I've also had the opportunity to join Dr. Eva Mo's honors program. I heard about this program from Dr. Hassel, who invited me to take his political philosophy class with honors. I applied and my proposal was accepted. I've learned how to uncover a question, construct a research methodology, conduct field visits for social science research, and report data. I'm also prepping to interview Corey Robin, who is one of the world's leading political scientists. I'm significantly ahead of my honors contract schedule, and I plan to complete 12 more units with honors before I graduate. All of this requires extensive and uncompensated supervision by the faculty who are supporting me in this work. Last semester in my Philosophy 105 class, on the first day, we all went around and introduced ourselves by stating our names, majors, and interests. I told everyone my latest hobby is poetry. Dr. Hassel, who I now consider a close friend and a mentor, recommended I take Professor Sam Pierstoff's class. Through working with Sam, I became confident in my poetry, confident enough to enter it in the Celebration of the Humanities contest, and I placed in the contest. My poem was published in the booklet. Seeing my name in print made me want to pursue poetry more. Sam just told me earlier today that he is willing to mentor me over the summer with a goal of publishing my own poetry book. He will be doing this without compensation, of course, because that's what our MJC professors do. They work hard for their students. Additionally, if Tristan never took the time with me during office hours in that first philosophy class, I never would have become a philosophy major. I never would have become a member, let alone president of philosophy club. I never would have met anyone from the ICC, let alone become the speaker of the council. I never would have entered the honors program. I never would have seen my poetry in print if it wasn't for Tristan and Sam. I never would have done any of these things if it wasn't for our professors. I also want to mention that Tristan and Sam agreed to work with me on honors proposals, agreed to be club advisors, and have labored extensively for us students without any additional compensation. I invite you to join me and my fellow students to stand with our professors. They have changed my life, and I'm better because of it.
Next, I have Larry Gould.
Hi, I'm Larry Gold. I'm a student here at MJC. I am the sports medicine rep, and I'm just here in part because we have 21 sports in this school with only one AT trainer, and we have one adjunctee trainer, but he's right now in Boston with the Boston Red Sox because they don't have the money to pay him as a full-time athletic trainer. So I'm just here to ask you guys to look at the budget and let us have another athletic trainer here at the school because all students, my fellow classmates, we deserve to have the best care that we can have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Ash Young.
Hi, my name's Ash Young, and I'm a student here at MJC. I serve our student body as the current speaker of the Interclub Council, and I serve as the vice president of the Black Student Union. I have a 3.8 GPA, have been on the dean's list multiple times, and will graduate in just 2 short weeks with 3 complete degrees. I tell you this not to brag, but to give evidence that I'm an outstanding student, and as such, I know a little bit about student success. And what I have found to be the most important quality in student success is honor. the ability to keep our commitments. At the beginning of every semester, in every class, every single student receives a syllabus from each of their professors. That syllabus is a contract, one stating that if I follow the contract, if I abide by its terms, if I attend every class, turn in every assignment, take every test, then I will earn the appropriate grade. If I respect the contract, my professor will respect me. In turn, if my professor does not fulfill their end of the contract by providing me with appropriate instruction, or by refusing to grant me the appropriate compensation, that is, the correct grade I've earned, then I am within my rights as a student to go to administration and have the professor forced to meet the terms of the contract we both agreed to. I've explained all this because I'm concerned with the honor of our school district and the model our administration is setting for the student body. The Yosemite Community College District signed a cohort agreement specifically promising professors specific conditions of pay and work, including class size, office hours, and other things that are important to teachers, all the little things they do, the million tasks that they don't get compensated for that make us successful students. That cohort agreement is not being honored. How can the district expect students to be honorable if the district is acting dishonorably? How can the district expect students to be respectful if the district is disrespecting faculty? And how can administration expect students to behave with integrity when we see the district acting without it? The issue is simple. A promise was made. That promise should be kept. Thank you.
Okay, next I have Iris Carroll.
Hi, my name is Iris Carroll, and I'm a librarian at MJC. Thank you for allowing me to address you this evening. As a librarian, I have the privilege of working with students from all the different disciplines. I get to work alongside faculty from across campus to guide and sometimes cajole students as they develop their critical thinking skills, communication skills, and learn how to use information ethically and effectively. It's extremely rewarding work. Last week, a colleague and I were talking about district priorities. It was clear to us that investing in faculty is not a priority, and it won't be until the board makes a deliberate attempt to make it one. All weekend, I kept wondering, why wouldn't the district and the board make supporting faculty a priority, especially given the fact that the district's mission statement includes a commitment to supporting excellence in teaching? The elephant in the room is that education is an expensive undertaking because it's labor-intensive work. Through a close partnership with English 100 faculty this year, the librarians are seeing firsthand just how labor-intensive it is. In order to reduce barriers to completion, English faculty worked to combine 2 introductory English courses into one. Now, hundreds of these English 100 students are taking an accelerated course in which they are to advance from basic level reading and writing to mastering college level English in just 16 little weeks. This transformation is impactful on student success and on faculty workload. It is hugely time consuming. In addition to working with their English instructors, students are meeting individually with the librarian who introduces them to sophisticated information literacy concepts and skills at different points in their projects when they need to do things like develop a research strategy, identify scholarly information, or create an annotated bibliography. We know that this direct faculty contact leads to better student engagement and success. The key ingredient here is faculty working hands-on with students. We are taking the time to listen to the way they think and then to guide them to learn these new concepts. You can try to lower the cost of instruction by investing in software programs, by increasing class sizes, or by reorganizing workflows, but the key ingredient is the faculty and the personal contact faculty make with students. Even in online instruction, which is touted as a cost savings, the importance of regular, effective, faculty-initiated contact cannot be understated. Therefore, If the district is really committed to prioritizing student success, then it must also be committed to prioritizing an ongoing investment in its faculty. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Next, I have Chandra Howard.
Hello. I was here 2 months ago. Thank you for having me back. I have to say it's just as intimidating as before. Yosemite Valley behind you. I'm nervous.
And we only wish we were in Yosemite Valley, right? There we go.
I know. Then I would be more relaxed. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm Chandra Howard. I'm an English instructor here at MJC. I'm nearing the end of my 3rd full-time year, and for the record, I absolutely love it. What I want to talk today about is class size. To pick up where Harmon and Ash have already begun to discuss, and Iris talked about personal contact, I want to talk about the discussions of increasing class size. I understand that they are being considered across campus. I do not understand the impetus behind class size increase other than financial. As my colleague attested 2 months ago at the meeting on Valentine's Day when I first came here, there's no evidence or research supporting the idea that increased class sizes result in student success, which is our stated mission. So, as an English instructor, I'm here to talk about math today. So this is going to be ugly. Now, I want to talk about the professional and social equations of increased class size. What I mean is, when class sizes are increased, an instructor's time spent with each student is decreased. When the sizes are increased, class time or time spent getting to know the student is decreased. Time spent communicating individually to the student is decreased. Time spent providing individualized feedback to the student is decreased. In this moment when MJC is going to be seeing the accreditation team coming back next year to evaluate our productive and meaningful contact with students on the online realm, this seems like a value to MJC, this meaningful contact between instructor and student. I hope it's not just because the accreditors are coming back. I want it to be a core value. Of course, when class sizes are increased, workload increases. This is a classic situation of do more with less. Do more with less time. Do more with less time. These are temporal and social concerns. I would like to turn now to the physical concerns of increased class sizes. When you increase a class size, will you also increase the classroom size? If you do not give us bigger rooms or bigger buildings, will you be decreasing the size of the desks? When you add more and more and more desks, what you create is immobility in the classroom. Students can't move. Instructors can't move. There's no moving desks to work in groups. There's no instructor heading to the back of the class to answer a question, and there's no student coming to the front to ask it. We are literally talking about physical mobility at this point for students and instructors. Now I'm going to do something that no woman has ever admitted willingly in a board meeting ever. I'm going to tell you how much I weigh.
You do know this is being videotaped.
I do. I know.
And that Jim Salmon will be posting it on the YFA website, right?
I know. On a good day in the morning before I've had breakfast, I weigh 140 pounds. I'm on the medium to small size of an adult human, okay? All things told, I'm little in that classroom. Currently, in my classroom packed with 35 to 40 chairs, I can barely squeeze through to go answer a student's question. I can't move around from group to group to engage students and to check on their work and to talk with them individually. Most of my students are bigger than I am, and they are already packed into the classroom in ways that hinder their movement, their ability to do something as simple as pick up a pen that they drop. Right now, it's like watching a contortionist try to pick up a pen that they drop. And those are the smaller students and the able-bodied students. Class size increases decrease effective contact with student, decrease our time spent supporting them, decrease their ability to not feel like veal in stalls, and decrease our ability to effectively practice models of teaching designed to support student success. So I'm asking you, please consider all of the negative consequences of increasing class sizes. I implore you to ask for the research and the evidence that shows that class size increase supports student success just beyond the first day when they're able to enroll. This is what I'm thinking is the goal here, right? To get more numbers. That's not the measure of success in the classroom nor in the college, and it's certainly not the measure of persistence, retention, and matriculation, where real student success happens. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Okay, thank you for that historical presentation. Next, we have Jill Ramsey, and thank you.
Thank you again for the opportunity to be here. I am here representing the nursing program at Modesto Junior College. And the good news is that 2 weeks from tomorrow, we are going to be pinning 51 new nursing graduates. The first one today, they're getting job interviews now, and today in my own clinical group, the first student texted me at 2:41 to say he'd been offered a position on a medical telemetry floor here in town. So very excited. He is the first of many from this cohort who have been born here, grown, raised, educated, and now employed in the Valley. So he's one of our own. He will take care of us. He'll take care of me, and he may well take care of you. I would be proud to have him take care of me because of the stellar faculty that he has endured, and the testing, and all of the faculty that preceded the nursing program who groomed and educated him to get him to this point where he could join our nursing program. The other good news is that he will earn a well-deserved salary. On another note, in the office next to me is my colleague. She's a brand new nursing instructor hired 1 year ago. She came with 27 years of experience, and that is invaluable when it comes to educating our students. When she joined our program, she took a $40,000 a year salary cut. I was in the same position when I came to MJC, and at that time I had 42 days of vacation a year. It doesn't even compare to what I have here, but I have chosen to be here. This student with his new job will earn 17% more than that new faculty person. He has an ADN degree. That faculty person and myself has bachelor's, and we have bachelor's and master's degrees. He will make the same as me with 18 years of teaching here at MJC. The same with an ADN degree. Working 3 shifts a week, he will do this. Now, the bad news is that due to financial needs or retirements, in our nursing program, we have to find 5 master's prepared, experienced, stellar nursing instructors in the next 3 months. Would any of you take such a salary cut to come and teach? Because that's what you are asking us to do, and that's what you are asking these future nurses who will be instructors to do. Who in their right mind would take on such a role? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have James Burton.
I can honestly say this is a first, and I'd like to say hello to each and every one of you. My name is James Burton. I'm 69 years old, and I'm a student here at MJC. Now, having said that, thank you. My academic credentials can probably rival anyone sitting up there. I'm a student here because my daughter is a student here, and she has a learning disability that requires her to be watched. So I attend classes with my daughter. What I see here at MJC is a tradition that began in 1921. MJC was founded then, 61 students. It's grown. The campus has grown. I've seen funds ushered into buildings like this one, parking lots, some equipment. I don't give you a nickel for your technologies department because half of that is outdated. But what I give you credit for is in identifying two types of people. In education, there are teachers and there are educators. Here at this campus, I find there are a lot of educators. And I define an educator as someone who is there to help the student learn. Teachers come to earn a paycheck. If these professors and adjunct professors were here to earn a paycheck, somebody needs to shoot them. There's much more money to be earned in private ventures and other public institutions. So you have a captive audience of people who are here for one reason. They love what they're doing and they love where they're doing it. This school has programs that are models for other institutions to follow. The ESL program, which has been turned around into a model for others to follow. The Umoja program that Professor Smith is involved with is a model for other campuses to follow. What's not a model is the fact that the teachers, or I should say professors and adjunct professors here, are receiving below salary for the jobs that they're doing and the time that they're spending. As the board, the power is in your hands. You hold the key to balancing what they need and what they deserve in accordance to what's available. No teacher should go without a contractual arrangement for 3 years. No teacher. I'm a retired teacher, and I would not have accepted that. So I ask you, I'm close in age to some of you. When is the last time you sat in the classrooms that these teachers or these students are talking about? I do not fit in the chairs. I'm not going to tell you my weight. My wife would kill me. But what I am going to tell you is that I have sat in classrooms currently on day one of school when students who wanted to take that class had to sit on the floor. And even if they had a desk, it wouldn't have fit them. The talk of increasing the class size is ludicrous. You cannot do an increase in the number of people going into a room without increasing the instructors for that room. You can't expect teachers who have dedicated themselves to educating people to sit by the wayside and receive less than adequate compensation. Our country was number one in academic success. We're not anymore. Matter of fact, last count, I think we're sixth. And that's for two reasons. One, a lot of our educators are going elsewhere to provide their services. And two, a lot of campuses are not addressing the needs of the students and the professors. I ask you humbly, take the time, look at your money, look at the funds that are coming into this institution. I swear it is far better to have an old raggedy boardroom than to turn around and have a teacher who is dedicated to what he or she does have to go elsewhere for employment because they can't feed themselves. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And next we have Holly Niazman. Did I get that right? All right, thank you.
I first want to thank all of you for having this open session, which gives us, the faculty and the student, a voice to be heard by the Board of Trustees. And I am a single mother of a severely autistic kid. So please forgive me if after my talk I will leave, because the time that my son stays with a respite provider cost me about equivalent of 1 week of after-school program. So it was very important for me to come here, and because I'm usually tangential person, I just wrote a brief statement that I'm going to read to you. When I came to Modesto Junior College for my interview in 2005, I fell in love with this institution to the degree that I rejected a higher paying position and turned down another interview. At the time, YCCD and MJC felt like my extended family, where not only everyone was treated with respect, but also with genuine care, and this sentiment was widely shared. Now, at the risk of becoming the elephant in the room, I will say that after the layoffs of 2011, when the district, without considering our students' interests, or much thought about the venues of cost-cutting, trimmed and eliminated numerous programs, its culture of care and community changed forever. At this point, no matter how much we lament the old days, we cannot bring back our feel-good community without the active participation of all parties and without seeing ourselves as an interconnected community, committed to uplifting our students. Speaking of our students, we all want them to get the best education possible and become able to be employed at workplace where they are treated with equity and where they matter. So while the faculty affirms its commitment to a better opportunity and better lives for our students, it would be hypocritical, if not foolish, to not want the same for our own families. Does this bring us to pay equity and workplace respect? There are those who may assert that the faculty already is paid well. However, why don't we ever question the pay of a physician or an attorney whose income exceeds the faculty by 4 to 10 times for the equivalent education? For many of us who did not come from privilege, the years of higher education comes with a hefty student loan to repay, as well as 7 years of delayed earnings and delayed retirement benefits. Isn't it ironic that we value the work of those who treat our ailing bodies or our interest in court of law 4 to 10 times more than the labor of those whose life mission is to nurture the minds of the next generation of parents, workers, providers, leaders of our community? 2 years of failed negotiation for equitable pay and the district's disregard of the contract with YFA, coupled with refusal to acknowledge that larger classrooms do not foster student success. And finally, the overall treatment of the faculty, especially our part-time faculty colleagues, is not only disappointing, but it is also painful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Sam Pierstor.
Hi, my name's Sam Piersdorf. I'm 151.8 pounds. 5'5". I like long walks on the beach. I'm just kidding. I'm not here to reiterate any of the points that have already been made. I think you've heard them loud and clear, and I really hope that you take them to heart and take them into consideration as you advise the YCCD negotiations team toward a more fair and just contract. What I really want to say tonight is how proud I am of the students here tonight, those who spoke and those who didn't speak. They came unprompted. There was no campaign from faculty to get them here, no extra credit offered. In fact, I wouldn't be here except I saw a Facebook post from a student of mine, and I thought, if he's going to be here, I'm going to go as well. This was an organic assembly championed by students who came here tonight to be heard. And whether or not you liked what they had to say, I hope you can join me in celebrating these young people for their courage, for their empathy, and for their advocacy. These young men and women are the future of this community and of this country. And based on what I've seen and heard tonight, that future looks bright. I'm so proud that their education at MJC has helped cultivate their voices and has shaped them into becoming civically engaged, strong-minded individuals who stand up for what they believe in. And that is a student learning outcome we can all be proud of. So thank you, students. We are thankful for your support, and we as faculty truly are here to serve you. Thank you.
Excuse me. Sam wanted to go last, but we had a late entry, so sorry, Sam. And it is students, so they trump you. So we have Shelby Thompson and Naomi Oliver, I think, if I got it right? That's correct. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Shelby Thompson, and this is Naomi Oliver. And I am currently the president of the business club, and she is the secretary of the business club. This is my graduating month for me. I've been an MJC student. I've been at MJC for 3 years, and I am very excited to go on to Stan State. Real quickly, briefly, was just told about this gathering that we're having here based on the faculty, and I almost fell apart. They have been so instrumental in my life. I'm a returning parent after 20 plus years. I came to MJC, they opened arms, welcomed me. They're like my family, my faculty, Nancy Blackland, Nancy Seal, Professor Akiona, Kevin, the whole administrative department for the business department has been totally supportive to me. Far as my career, far as my education, my plan was not to go on to a four-year college. My plan was just to finish what I didn't finish before. They have totally committed their time to me, to my faculty, to my members of the club, and to other students. They go outside of the school hours that they put for school, off their personal hour times. They are committed. They're there for us when we need our help. They've helped me and several of our students with our career paths, with our educational plans. They are all willing to help whenever we need them. They're not closed door. They're always open door. They put all their efforts into seeing that we succeed and carry on our education and our careers. The time that they've put in under this system that they're under, for them to stay in this system and not bail and go somewhere else, I think that is an honor for you guys to have staff and faculty that have hung in there under the situations that they're in, and to have whatever the procedure is that they are granting. I would hope that you grant them what they're asking for, because they're all well-deserving, hard-working people. I would not have been here at this point in my life if it wasn't for them, because I would not be in the mindset of going on to Sand State. So they've been truly an impact in my life, and I've seen them impact other people's lives. And anytime you mention any or hear any of their names, there's good things being said about them all because of the time they spend and how open door they have. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. There were no other cards or sheets of paper submitted, cards. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in public comment? Yes, sir?
Hello, my name is Scott Hennings. I'm a student here at MJC. I originally started at MJC in the year 2009 when I had graduated high school. I hope to do today to paint a picture as to why I originally failed at MJC and why I am successful today. When I started at MJC in 2009, I came from a high school that had around 5,000 students and 1,000 students in its graduating class. One of the biggest issues I had with this model of high school was I felt like I was just a number in a crowd and wasn't appreciated for who I was or what I was capable of. Coming to MJC, I was told that I was going to be an individual among a crowd, and that was not true. I was largely ignored by the counseling staff on the several trips that I attempted to get an education plan and the faculty at the time. Granted, this probably was because I was a high schooler and I just didn't know what I was doing at the time. I dropped out after my second semester, and I've spent 7 years in Washington and Oregon. When I came back, my success is largely because of the special relationships that I've had with the teachers and the counselors. Tina and Margaret are the two counselors that I've spoken to, and they helped me get an education plan. If it wasn't for my first semester with Lee Cooler and Kim Duran, I wouldn't be an English major. I wouldn't have straight A's, which I've never had in my entire life. Thank you. Um, I'm usually not a public speaker, and I apologize, but I really feel that an increase in the size of the classrooms would be detrimental. I would not have been able to sit down in the office hours for hours at a time with Kim to discover that my passion truly does lie in English and telling stories instead of in history or in business, which I had originally planned to come back to school for. Today I am I've been on the dean's list for 2 semesters in a row. I will be graduating from MJC next year this time. This is all I have to say, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. We'll move on now to item 4.1, the Board Finance Committee report. We had a Board Finance Committee last week, and what was furnished was a monthly financial update, and I'm happy to report that currently for both colleges in the district, we're under budget. We had a update in our FTS generation, which I appreciated. And then we had a presentation by Judy Lancaster on our facilities and maintenance staff and how we run that as far as the district and at each college. So thank you very much. Abe or Don, do you have anything to add to that? Okay, thank you both. Move on now to item 4.2, the Board Policy Committee report. And I'll let Trustee DeMartini address that.
Thank you, Chair Garrett. The Board Policy Committee did not meet this past month, so therefore no report.
Okay, thank you. Moving on now to reports and information items. 5.1, Modesto Junior College parking update presentation.
You converted it? Oh, I see what you're saying. Good evening, trustees. My name is Al Alt. I have the pleasure of serving as the Vice President of College Administrative Services at MJC. I also have the pleasure of overseeing parking, and I'll forewarn you that I've not taken Sam Piersdorf's public speaking class. I am, for the record, however, 6'3". That part I won't give away. While I've not taken Sam's class, I did have some assistance in this presentation from some of my colleagues here that are in the audience. As we walk through some slides, I'll give credit to some work that some of my colleagues here from District Services and Kitchell have done. So what I'm here to talk about tonight is to talk about the expansion over the last decade or so of the parking space inventory at Modesto Junior College and some efforts that we've done with the communities to be good neighbors to our adjacent communities. This topic is not new. We've talked about it in the district for quite a while. In 2006, there was a parking study that was commissioned. I'm not going to go into the parking study in detail, but I wanted to provide the link here for you. And that parking study informed us on a few things. It told us what our current space inventory is, and I'll go through that here shortly. It contemplated some ideas on how to expand our parking space inventory, and it accurately predicted that MJC East Campus would be the most impacted in parking as we grow in FTES. That parking study informed the facilities master plan of 2008, and ultimately some of the decisions that were made were presented to the board in a parking presentation in June of 2009. Again, I'm not going to go into great detail on those, but I thought you might want to be able to reference past materials that you've reviewed as a board. I might add, as we go into this parking space inventory, that the increase that we've seen over the last decade in our space inventory has been primarily funded, and actually all funded, by the Measure E bond construction. So what you have here is just a quick look at, prior to bond construction, West Campus had 1,426 spaces. And after construction, we have 2,041. That doesn't include the new lot that's out here. We haven't put that on our inventory yet. So we've seen a net gain of, I'll ask the English teacher to do the math for me, 615 spaces gained on West Campus. East Campus, as you know, is the most impacted campus of our two. Prior to bond construction, we had 2,179 spaces, and we've picked up through construction 287 spaces for a total of 2,466. So that's important. I want to give you an illustration. I know this is small up here. I've provided hard copies of the map so that you can see it there. I really don't want to drill down into the detail here. The purpose for this particular map is to show all of the highlighted areas are parking lots. These are MJC lots that are available. In this particular example, it's West Campus, and then I'll, for illustrative purposes, show East as well. So these are all of the parking lots that are available on East Campus. And as we go through and talk through this, I'll bring some specific points forward on some of these parking lots. One of the most talked about parking lots is Lot 107, and you can see here from the presentation that was provided to the board in 2009, the circled area there is now what we know as Lot 107. This is one of the things that was contemplated in that parking study of 2006. There were 5 or 6 scenarios in that parking study, and one of which was the parking structure that we've heard a lot about. And we often hear, whether it's in the bond meetings or at board meetings, that we committed to build a parking structure and haven't done that. It was only one of several scenarios that was presented, and in lieu of that particular option, properties were purchased on Tully Road in the red circled project site area, which is now known to us as Lot 107. Lot 107 happens to be one of our largest lots. You'll see here in the parentheses, I have the number of spaces that are available in these 2 lots. 107 has 455 spaces, and that's important because when we bought that property and made parking spaces out of them, it was additional. When we were contemplating the parking structure, it was going to go over an existing lot. So in this case, we picked up over the proposed parking lot structure, we picked up 250 additional spots. So that's the bulk of the 287 spot increases that we've had over the last decade. In particularly, I highlighted these 2 lots. 107, obviously, I've talked about. 108 happens to be the lot right behind Founders Hall. So it's one of our most popular lots because Founders Hall is one of our most popular buildings, and it's heavily scheduled. So I happened to take a walk around the parking lots on a Monday at about 1:15 when most of our students are in class. It's a heavily scheduled day. It's a prime spot during the day when students are in class. And this is what I found in 107 and 108. The upper left-hand corner is lot 107. You can see Forum and Founders in the background. I know there's only a few spots available there, but at 1:15 on a Monday, there was about 30 spots left in that lot. And then I walked across the street. Of course, I used the crosswalk. I pressed the button. It was completely legal when I crossed. And I took photographs of 107 facing west. So you can see the industrial area west off of Tully. And then I went to the back of the lot and took pictures facing back towards Founders. In this lot with about 445 spaces, there was at least 300 available at 1 o'clock on a Monday. So I again walked across the street, used a crosswalk, went to lot 106, which is another very important lot to us because it's right across the street from Founders. And what I found is it's underutilized as well on a Monday afternoon at 1 p.m. So I continued to go around the campus. One of the most interesting lots for us, for our neighbors on the College Avenue side, is lot 102. It's a rather big lot. You can see there's 441 spaces in it. And I took a look at what was available in that lot. There was at least 100 spaces available on that same day. So I'll stay there for a minute. I'll live there for a minute. So we hear often that there's no parking, that it's tight. And at the beginning of the term, quite honestly, it is. It doesn't look like this. I didn't go out on the first day of the term, so this isn't an accurate reflection of the first 2 weeks. But it is an accurate reflection of what the majority of our term looks like. So how do we have a situation where we have that much available parking and we still hear from particularly our surrounding communities, that our students are parked on the streets? That's really based in parking fees and our legal authority to collect those. It's permissive. The code allows us to charge students and employees a parking fee. And the purpose, I didn't put it all up here, but really the purpose is to fund parking services. So that's parking enforcement, safety, security of the parking lots. It also includes resurfacing, restriping, and things of that nature that have, to this point in the last decade, been funded by bond funds. So knowing that we have a situation where there's available parking, but we do collect fees, there's always going to be students. We've heard from many tonight that finances are tough for them. We realize that, and then sometimes they have to make a choice between paying for parking or choosing to park 4 and 5 blocks off of campus while we have available parking a block from where their class is scheduled. So we've done some things to try and help the students make this easier. We went to an online parking pass distribution system. It didn't change the fees in any way, but our students can go online, a way that this generation in particular prefers to purchase. So you go online at any time, buy a pass, and it gets mailed to you. You get a temporary pass prior to that. So it's a lot easier than it used to be when you used to pay for your pass and have to stand in line for hours to get your physical permit. We've done that. We've also worked, and I'll give credit here to Judy Lanchester and to Dr. Stearns as well. We worked very closely with the city of Modesto. You won't see a huge net increase on the parking that we've been able to gain from the work with the city, but the view here is from College down Caldwell. So the north side of the Student Services building, you can see the cars parked on the street in the left-hand picture. That all was blocked off. It wasn't allowed for city parking. We worked with the city and we added spaces there that are free parking. That netted about 10 spaces depending on how you park because they're not marked. On Tully Road, we worked with the city on the road diet and we picked up about 15 spaces on Tully Road. That picture there on the right-hand side is just behind the football field on Tully Road. So there's additional free parking there. We also, it's not much, but we worked with the city on the College Avenue bus stop. It used to be right in front of the Morris Memorial Building. It was moved 1 block up near the Student Services Building. The city actually added additional bus barn areas, covered areas where our students can sit waiting for the bus. But it also opened up on the left, the right-hand side picture is additional parking that was opened up on College Avenue in front of Morris Memorial. That's free parking. It wasn't many spots. I think it was 3. But in total, our work has yielded additional free parking spaces on the streets. We've worked with the College Area Neighborhood Alliance. Dr. Stearns and I had several meetings with that neighborhood network. We worked with them and the city on how to develop their residential parking permit zone, which is now implemented. So these are taken from Myrtle, in particular, is where that zone was created. And then if you may recall, it's been maybe a year, but I think all this board was seated at the time when a community member from Woodland West community came and discussed parking. John Black and Bill Watts worked with the community and had meetings with them. They identified specific issues in that community and worked with local law enforcement to alleviate those parking and traffic issues. We regularly interact with that community still. We get updates from the community and we attend their events beyond just those that are related to parking so that we can hear about the issues that we're having in their particular communities. So all in all, over the course of the last decade, we've improved parking. We continue to work on that with our work with the city. It's not done. It's still a difficult equation, but I'll end at this point and I'll open it up to questions. And if there are any hard ones, I'll refer it to Judy Lanchester.
Al, I appreciate the time and effort that you put into this. My question is there was a parking study done by the College Area Neighborhood Association, I believe in 2015. They paid for it themselves. Came to the same conclusions, that we didn't need a parking structure, that the college had purchased the additional surrounding areas to add parking capacity, and we had enough parking capacity to address the needs of basically MJC East Campus is what we're really talking about. And that the issue came down to, it was bigger than just adding parking spaces. We're talking about scheduling when we offer, and I just use the term high demand classes. Their studies showed that it's about 8:30 to 9 o'clock in the morning till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's Monday through Thursday. Those are your peak demand times for parking. Me personally, I try to work out, and when I do, I go to the MJC East Campus Stadium, and I have literally seen, as I get to the top of those stairs, and no, I'm not running on the aluminum bleachers, by the way. I get to the top of the stairs, and you'll see 15 at the most cars parked on the Tully side. You'll see 10 to 15 students in a snake line trying to find that one available slot open right next to the stadium. My issue, and particularly Trustee Beggs' issue, has been to form a parking committee to somehow, we can't not force students to buy a parking permit. You can't do that. But there's got to be a way to incentivize students. So you identified 350 open slots. If you use simple economics and math, even if you were to come up with a formula that said, okay, we've got a full load student. We know this student is going to be impacting parking on the East Campus during that high peak time from 9 to 1. Is there some way, even if you, and I'm just throwing ideas out, and I've shared these ideas already with the chancellor, is there some way to come up with a formula, because you're going to sell more permits, so you're going to get more revenue, but to somehow come up with something that says, if you take a full load, instead of $30, it's $20. If there's some way to come up, and we need to form a committee, which is what Trustee Beggs and I have been asking for, and include students, the associated student body, in on those discussions, and come up with some creative solutions to allow them to park. Because it's not just the college area impact. We're talking about the safety of our students, to be able to park and be safe to get to and from their classes without having to jog across Tully or jog across college. It's safety, particularly at night. So we're charging $30 for a permit, whether you're here during the day or you're here at night. Okay? The impact is minimal at night, almost to zero. So if you're taking classes at night, we can incentivize you because your impact to the district is minimal, and we can come up with a formula and to allow these students to utilize, because again, at night, your safety risk goes way up. We want those students to be as close to the classrooms as possible and under lighted conditions. You being in law enforcement, we know that. So we need to form this committee, and we need to come up with some solutions. At the end of the day, we recognize that you're not going to be able to make these students stop parking in the neighborhoods. You can't do that. But if we somehow use all of our collective minds and come up with these solutions and be able to represent to the community that we are responsible to and say, look, we've gone through this whole exhaustive process. Here's what we're now doing. We've done everything we can, and here we are. So that's just my thoughts. Anybody else?
Well, I have some questions. I'd be curious to know, and I wouldn't expect you to know it now, but I'd like to find out how many student parking passes are purchased per semester. I'd like to know what percentage of our students are buying parking passes. I'd also like to know, and I'll ask this on a purchase order that's coming up, how many of our students ride the bus? You know, probably some of them carpool, so we can't get terribly accurate, but I would just sort of think it'd be helpful to have that information. And I have a question about the parking enforcement. I know that's where the fees come. Is there a problem with having enough money coming from the parking enforcement? I mean, what Darren was suggesting about possibly having a lower impact fee, is that potentially feasible?
It is feasible. I think if you were to ask Sarah, she'd be able to communicate to you that we do have a parking fund that's grown over time. I will tell you there's a balance between what we use those fees for. It's not just parking enforcement. We've had the good fortune of having community support for the Measure E bond, which is really taking care of our lots. Absent having another bond, either we pay for parking lots out of general fund or we pay for them out of a parking fund. Dr. Fairchilds and I were at a district previously where all of the maintenance of the parking lots were taken care of out of the parking fund, which is quite substantial if you recall all of the highlighted areas. That doesn't mean, however, that it's absolutely imperative that we charge the fee that we charge and that there aren't, viable solutions for us to work on the problem. There will be things to consider, like how it impacts the budget and the future maintenance of the parking lots. Columbia also has the same parking fee structure because it's a district policy. So anything we do would impact them unless we uncouple that. Or if we were to have not uncouple that policy, I would suggest that they should have some input as well, because it is a district-wide policy. But all of those things we've heard the great minds in the room. I think most of the students could build a rocket and fly it to the moon right now, so we could fix this problem.
Okay, thank you.
I agree with you, Darren. I think the committee establishment would be a good idea, and the sooner the better. What does it take to establish a committee by you just doing it as the chair?
I want to make sure that it's not us.
No, it's inclusive.
It's
I mean,
everybody, and the students are the ones. I mean, it can get down to the point where, hold on just a minute. It can get down to the point where we all embrace. I mean, my goal at some point would be to have technology to the point where you have an app. So if a student is looking for a parking spot, they can bring up an app and it would show. I mean, that's down the road, but sky's the limit. So, yes, ma'am. Right. Yeah. Correct.
Would you pay $10 for, if you work, I don't know how many classes you take. Do you take evening classes? No. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Right. Well, right, sure. Well, I think as Trustee Rojas said, I think the sooner and I'll let the chancellor work with staff and work with the associated student body to get this thing rolling. We've been asking for it for a while. Um, You know, we could set up zones. So if the parking lots are adjacent to the thing, the rates will higher. If you want to pay less, you can park across the street. But we're trying to come up with ideas to incentivize people to use. And if you're selling more in the end, you're going to bring in more revenue. At least that's what my economics professor told me. So
I'm reminded of a story of the individual that went round and round and round the block until she finally got to park in front of the store. But yet she went to the mall and parked equivalent to about a half a mile away. So it's just a matter of priority.
anybody else?
Thank you, and I look forward to hearing when this committee can be formed.
So do I. Thank you.
Why don't we throw that on an agenda?
What's that?
Why don't we direct to have that put on an agenda and get it moving?
I think the chancellor understands that, correct? Okay. We'll move on now to item 5.2, association reports, the Student Senate activity reports. So we'll hear first from, I believe, ASMJC, correct? All right.
Good evening, board members. It's been a month since our last meeting, and I would like to report that ASMJC is ending strong with a couple of events for the last 2 weeks for the students. Like I mentioned on my last report, ASMJC has proudly finished all of their events, all of their projects with the support of our entire team. I can say ASMJC has become closer. I'm excited for our new president-elect, Harvaleen Hundal, and which I may proudly mention, she is our first student body who is an Indian young woman who has came to this country just 2 years ago. She is an intelligent, bright young woman, and I am excited for all the new ideas and creativity ASMJC will bring to the table for our students. On a personal note, it's been an honor to be a part of such a passionate team and to see all the team members who believe in this organization grow into amazing leaders. I want to personally thank you all for giving me the opportunity to report to you all the amazing activities and events ASMJC has done. I would also like to thank our Vice President of Student Services, Dr. James Todd, and our Dean of Student Services, Ms. Flerida Arias, for supporting our staff. And lastly, I would like to thank our Associated Dean, Brian Justin Marks, and our faculty advisor, Alejandra Espinosa, for an amazing leadership experience since they stepped into the department. If it wasn't for them, we would not be a successful team that we are today for the students. With that said, I will report ASMJC's events for this month. Since I mentioned the new president-elect, we held ASMJC elections on both campuses on April 2nd and the 3rd. ASMJC has continued to remind our students that student government is a fun, exciting experience that is open to all of our students who are willing to commit to a team and the student body. On April 14th, ASMJC is volunteering for the new Student Day for all returning and high school students. On April 18th, Campus Life is holding our 3rd annual gala from 5:30 to 9 p.m. to recognize all the outstanding performances of students participating on campus on extracurricular activities. The following night, April 19th, ASMGC will be hosting our usual cram night for all the students to get their extra study hours in. And on Friday, April 20th, ASMGC will also be volunteering for the graduation luncheon from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And lastly, after finals week, our team will be volunteering on April 27th for our graduation. That is all for my report tonight. Do you guys have any questions?
I do. You mentioned that you held elections on both campuses. Could you give me an approximation of how many people voted?
I want to say it's a range between 100 to 200. On West Campus, it's not that many students, but we got more votes on East Campus.
Okay. That might be something in the future to try and get
Yes,
better.
we're going to work on advertising more. We made a lot of posters, and we posted it around everywhere on both campuses, but we're going to try to come up with more creativity ideas to try to pull students in more.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. Any other questions? All right, thank you. We'll now move on to YFA, Jim Salmon. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm moving too fast here. Go ahead.
Well, hello and welcome everyone. I'm very excited to see so many students here. It's nice. Columbia College is going to be wrapping up the end of the year with a lot of more fun. We have this on the 19th coming up. We're going to be doing a barbecue outreach just for students to kind of calm them down for their finals coming up. We very much want to make them feel comfortable. To go along with that, we're also going to be having our club day and promoting for the next coming semester, the students who will be returning. We'll be having those kind of join together, and the one will lead into the other. It's going to be grouped together. We worked very closely with a lot of the club presidents in order to have that communication. In terms of our outreach program, one thing that I'm going to pass on to MJC, we created a committee to come up with different ideas, and our team came up with promoting student government agendas and activities such as this right before class. Our teachers are very helpful in giving us that 5 minutes right before class starts and 5 minutes afterwards to just have the audience's attention to keep it and continue to communicate with them. Later that same night on the 19th still, we're going to be having our cram night, which is students coming in and getting that going and preparing them for their finals. Lastly is our graduation. Our team is working very hard in order to prepare everything for the students' graduation. That's all I have to report. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Now we'll hear from Jim Salmon with the YFA report. And just because Curtis isn't here, you don't get to use his time, so sorry.
Thank you. I am Jim Salmon. I'm president of the Yosemite Faculty Association. I do have a few items to report tonight. First, that the YFA held elections for the 3 executive board positions that were open. Professor Iris Carroll has been elected as the vice president grievance officer for MJC. Professor Shelley Akiona has been elected as the secretary, and Professor Tom Nomoff has been elected as an at-large representative for MJC. All of these executive board officers will begin on May 1st. Additionally, YFA's general faculty meeting is next week on Friday, April 20th in Oakdale at the community center there, and we will be discussing a variety of topics. At last month's board meeting, I relayed that the YFA sent a demand letter to the district regarding a faculty investigation and gave a brief history about continuing problems we have experienced with the district involving due process. Since then, YFA has filed an unfair practice charge with the Public Employees Relations Board, or PERB, which resulted from further due process violations. And as you know, YFA applied for an impasse determination and request for mediation with PERB as well. Yesterday, we received confirmation from PERB that an impasse does indeed exist between the YFA and the YCCD. We are expecting PERB to contact us soon about when mediation will be scheduled. I've been here in the district for 19 years, and I can't believe I just read that. 19 years here, and I'm saying that in 1 week, we had to file with PERB twice. That's shameful. At the last two board meetings, you have heard from several faculty regarding concerns about increasing class sizes, and you heard some more tonight. In addition to the very thoughtfully considered comments expressed by my colleagues about how increasing class sizes has potentially negative effects in the programs and classes they described, there are other issues to consider before carelessly bulldozing into the class size territory. For example, how many current classrooms and labs can even accommodate larger class sizes? What are the fire code restrictions for maximum occupancy? Would larger class sizes affect how well we could comply with ADA requirements, especially when considering wheelchair access of potentially more than one student in a class with a physical disability? How does increasing the class size for online courses improve student learning, given that regular and effective communication is an important accreditation standard? Now, you've heard from full-time faculty at MJC and at Columbia College last month. You've also heard from part-time faculty, and tonight you heard from many students, and even those who didn't speak, you saw many students here in support. And this is a community college district, and this is our community who's been talking to you for the past 3 months. There are concerns, obviously, about class size. We've heard that many times over the last few months. There are concerns about faculty compensation. And there are concerns about which agreements the YCCD decides to cherry pick to honor. We are 30 months out since negotiations began, and we should have been done no later than 2 years ago. And now we have reached a point where an outside official will be assigned to try and fix what is broken in our contract negotiations. What an embarrassing time to be part of the Yosemite Community College District. At the end of this month, our colleges will celebrate student achievement with great pride. I just wish we could celebrate the faculty's role in this achievement by settling this contract.
Thank you, Jim. Next, we have California School Employees Association, Debbie Partridge.
Good evening, trustees. I have just a very short report tonight. I'd like to thank you for the resolution to recognize our classified professionals during Classified School Employees Week. Don't have a whole lot of union information because classified professionals are very busy with the many activities that bring a semester to culmination with graduation. There's a lot of hustle and bustle on campus with all the final events that are going on and all that it takes to put those on. And CSE is working with the district to create 2 new job descriptions. That's my report.
All right. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Next, we have the faculty representative to the board, Alan.
Thank you for this opportunity to address the board. Please excuse me as I lose my voice somewhat, but I'm determined to muddle through. At this time, students, staff, and faculty are focused on bringing this semester in for a smooth landing. I'm reminded of the old saying, that's any landing you can walk away from. As you can see, interest in resolving contract negotiations and in issues like due process is high. As usual, please let me know what I can do to help keep communication continuous and constructive. I'll just mention a couple of highlights that may interest the board. Last night, the MJC Civic Engagement Project partnered with the League of Women Voters to put on a candidates forum for the offices of District Attorney, Sheriff, and Municipal Court Judge. The Forum 110 auditorium was almost full with members of the MJC community and the larger community. It went very well, and I believe everyone there learned something valuable. I was extremely impressed when I saw these incumbents and challengers who are going to be leaders in our community looking out to that group of people and saying, I am here for you and I care what you have to say. And they seem to mean it. The CEP and the League of Women Voters hopes to partner with ASMJC to put on more forums and related events, ramping up to the fall elections. Colleges and universities should train citizens, and community colleges should serve the political culture of the whole community. Also, a project began by my predecessor, Michelle Christopherson, continues. Faculty are being strongly encouraged to attend graduation, and the large store of loaner caps and gowns continues to grow and be put to good use. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Any questions? Okay, thank you again. Moving on now to the Academic Senate activity reports. Aaron.
Thank you. And I also wanted to extend a thank you to Gina and Chancellor Young for the work that was done at Columbia College for making sure that the timeline of our presidential search is such that we'll be able to have our open forums next week before the semester ends. That's been really important to our Faculty Senate, and I just want to express our gratitude for that aggressive timeline. It was a lot of work, but we're excited for those forums. And our next president, and sad to be saying goodbye to Angie. Trustee DiMartini and Trustee Beggs, I have not forgotten your questions about curriculum between the two colleges, but Curtis and I have talked, and we'll be back in May to answer and address some of those questions. So
Thank you.
it's your cliffhanger. Okay, so so instead, what I decided to talk about was some really important work that is the result of a sabbatical that was taken to exemplify that the recognition that sabbatical is an opportunity and a privilege, and also comes with the responsibility of bringing back valuable work to student success and to the college as a whole. So last semester, Lana Von Epps is one of our math faculty, and she was on sabbatical, and one of her primary goals for that sabbatical was to improve the pathway for students to taking statistics at Columbia College so that it was more effective and also a faster pathway. So she developed a course called Pathway to Stats, and it went through the curriculum, and it got approved, and it got on the books to be taught. And then a little bill called Assembly Bill 705 was passed, which null and voided all of that really hard work. But Lana, being the gritty professor she is, said, all right, well, we have to change gears, so let's see what we need to do. So she joined what's called the California Acceleration Project, and that is a group of faculty that are working towards making sure that that bill is implemented well throughout community colleges. And as you're probably familiar with, but I'll remind everybody here, that the point of Assembly Bill 705 is to maximize the likelihood that students will complete college-level coursework in English and math within a one-year time frame. And kind of the background of that bill is we know that students who are placed in courses that are pre-transfer level, they can spend several semesters working on those courses before they get to the point where they can take transfer level. And it extends the amount of time that they need to be in college, which impacts their ability to persist and get to their end goals. So Lana worked throughout her sabbatical and then came back and worked with the math department, and we have a model now at the college of how we're going to help AB 705 work. So AccuPlacer, which is not accurate at all, Lana shared with me it has an R value of 4%, which means you've got a 4% chance that that placement test for math actually places someone in the correct math class. Okay, so now we have the data. So it's been on its way out at the college, and it will be completely removed as the placement tool at Columbia College. Students will be placed using success on their most previous math class, as well as high school multiple measures, so things like their high school GPA and what courses they were taking at high school. And then to support students that might not feel quite ready to be at a transfer level math class that would, under the previous umbrella, have been placed at, say, Algebra 1 or 2, which is pre-transfer level. What we have now is a course that's on your agenda tonight, which is Math 198S, the title being something to do with, math support for statistics. So what that course is a student enrolls in statistics, and if they want extra support to be successful in that course, they co-enroll in this second course that lends them support for that. It's not required, but it's recommended for our students who are in that area. So we'll make sure our counselors are really well educated about that. We'll make sure that there's some marketing and conversations happening with students as they're registering and onboarding onto college. We're really excited about that. And excited that Lana's sabbatical work really is going to, we hope, help students get through their courses more quickly with the support that they need to be successful. I'll take any questions if you have any.
Please tell her we appreciate her work as well.
I will.
That's what sabbaticals are all about.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just have one question. So since we're switching away from inaccurate placer to multiple measures,
yeah.
When do we assess the accuracy of that?
Here's what I know, not being an expert in it, but that transition for multiple measures that's been supported by and promoted by AB 705 is based on a large body of research that shows that using those multiple measures accurately places students. I don't have a number. That's a great, I'll write it down. I bet Lana knows. I'll ask her.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's a great question. But I know that decision is an evidence-based decision of using those multiple measures.
I have a question, Chair. I have heard a lot of information that how students do in high school more accurately reflects their success at college. What multiple measures do you envision or exist for the student, we've heard from some tonight, that come back at age 40?
Yeah, that's the fun challenge of this. So, of course, they have their high school transcript in their back pocket.
Right.
Right. So what they do is they sit down with an advisor and talk about when was your last math course? What did you take? What's your comfort level with things? And under this new process, the student and the counselor kind of come up with a game plan to make that decision. We're also encouraging students to actually talk to a math professor, and then they can start to ask them and kind of dig into some of their understanding of math to make that placement. But it's a real challenge, and it's a big discussion at our state plenary meetings. Okay. And I know at the California Acceleration Project, that's a conversation that faculty are having. Like, what do we do? We have many students who are returning that aren't new with their high school transcript, and so our best answer now is we're trying to really carefully have conversations with those students and see if we can place them as best we can. And letting them know what kind of support we have, right? We have these co-requisite courses. We also have a really great math lab to help them be successful. It's a great and not easily solution question.
I agree. I was a returning student. I put math off until the last minute. I know what you're talking about. Any other questions? Thank you, Aaron.
You bet.
We'll move on now finally to LTAC.
I'm Judy Lanchester, LTAC Treasurer. Klaus apologizes for not being here this evening, but it's his birthday, so
Happy birthday, Klaus.
Yes, I told him I'd bake him a cake, but I don't think it would compare with his cake.
Okay.
Our report out this evening is very small. We are working on some forms for our contractual language, and that's moving forward to the overall group. We're also supported several people at the retirement dinner, and we're also moving forward with notifying our members of our union dues. Any questions?
Any questions for Judy? Nope. Thank you, Judy.
I told you it was
there you go. Okay. We'll move on now to item 5.3, activities and announcements, Columbia College. You have 30 seconds, Angela. I'm sorry, but you know.
I also was a returning student, and the only thing that got me through college algebra is it's the last requirement between me and my bachelor's degree. As you've heard already this evening, April is a month of celebration. It's hard to believe that we're just a little over 2 weeks away from graduation. So my announcements tonight are all about that last week of the semester, Fire Academy graduation, our commencement, and then our famous end of the year picnic celebration, which we have midday. Please come, you'll have so much fun. I'm sure I'll be roasted in some form, since it will be my last time with the faculty pretty much. And the thing that is not on here, because I think I included it last month, is that tomorrow night we have our scholarship award ceremony, and the foundation is going to give out $120,000 worth of scholarships to well-deserving students. That's my report.
I just want to make a comment. I received that email. I thought it must have been a typo. $120,000 in scholarships from Columbia. If you compare that to MJC, I mean, kudos. I mean, that is just fabulous.
Yes.
So,
Thank you. We'll move on now to item 5.4, activities and announcements. Modesto Junior College President Stearns.
Thank you, Chair Garrett. Good evening, everyone. I would like to extend congratulations to the 1,262 students that were named to the MJC President's List. Those are students that had a GPA of 3.5 or higher, and it's always exciting to see those letters going out in acknowledgement of the students' great work. I'd ask you to please take a look. There are a number of our typical end-of-the-year events listed with dates and times, and we look forward to seeing you at as many of those as your schedule can accommodate. Next week is filled with music concerts, if you have time for that as well. Wonderful opportunity to get a sense of what's going on in the music department at MJC. And I also look forward to seeing you at commencement, which is coming up on us so quickly. I have some exciting new news to share. The MJC men's tennis team won the Big Eight. So congratulations to our head coach, Sean Black, and the men of Pirates. Unfortunately, they did not win in their first round of playoffs. Our women's tennis team also were Big Eight champions, and yesterday afternoon they won their first round playoff at home. I got to watch part of that action, and they'll be facing De Anza College next week, and that will be away. And so Milan Matroni is a two-coach sport for MJC, and her women's golfers won the state title this year, and her women's tennis players just won the conference. So huge congratulations to Milan. And I want to just formally thank, and I think she had to leave, but I just want to extend my thanks and appreciation to Cindy Berrigan-Lopez. Cindy has been a phenomenal leader of ASMJC this year, and as she has presented to the board, she has always taken great pride in the work of her team. And I think one of the great signs of a leader is someone who is developing leaders, and I absolutely saw that demonstrated by her this year. And so thank you, Cindy.
Any questions for Jill? Thank you, Jill. You know, Jill, you bring up a good point, and Angie, you do too. We hear all these great things from our athletic department to our agricultural department across all disciplines of all these great things that students are doing. And I've asked before, and I don't know if it's like moving a mountain or whatever, but I would like to see at some point those students brought in here and recognized publicly. And I mean, I know they get recognized at their ceremony where they got awarded their medals or their trophy, but I think it would be nice to see them, because it's the students that really are our ambassadors, and I want to see all the stuff that they're doing.
So one of the challenges, many of our athletes take evening classes because their practice schedules keep them from taking things in the afternoons, but I can work toward that end.
So we could have them do it at 3:30. I don't know. We could do something. We can do something. Yeah, well, we need to do something. So we'll move on now to item 5.5, presentation updates from our chancellor. Henry Young. Oh, there you go.
Good evening. I just have a few items to share. I want to begin by acknowledging the turnout that we had at the staff recognition dinner at Oakdale just the other night. We had over 250 employees, guests, families, friends who showed up. The fact that the people showed up, it's a testament to the uniqueness of our organization because that wasn't a free dinner. People had to buy a ticket to go in to support a retiree, to support someone receiving a 5-year PIN, a 15-year PIN, a 25-year PIN, or a 40-year PIN. But someone has to make the decision, I'm going to buy the ticket to show up, to support, this person who is retiring, or recognize this person who, on the anniversary of their employment. So I just want to mention that I was very much impressed by the spirit of the event. And we had so many people turn out, even though it was raining. So YCCD should be proud that we have this spirit among us. Second, I want to share with you, and I want to speak in humility. I was recently nominated by other chief executive officers in the community college system to be a fellow for the Wheelhouse Institute, the Center for Community College Leadership, housed at the School of Education at UC Davis. It's not open to the general public. It is done through nomination. And the purpose of this year-long fellowship is for community college leaders to be able to engage each other with individuals from the School of Ed at UC Davis, Stanford, and Harvard through a multidiscipline, multi-lens curriculum. These leaders get together for purposeful discourse on organizational change within the community college. So that was the first session in March. Second session will be in July, and the third session is in October. I also attended the Chief Business Officer Institute, first session and second session in Sacramento recently. The purpose of me signing up for that institute is to try and learn more regarding what is in store for us. I think many of us have already heard about the new funding formula. Previously, we receive our funding from the state based on 100% of the FTES, the full-time equivalent students. The more students we serve, the more appropriations we receive. But there has been a change. Under the new plan, 50% of the new funding will be based on the FTES, which is a change of 50%. And then 25% is brand new on financial aid, the economically disadvantaged students that we're serving. And the other 25% is on the completion agenda. How many of our students are retained, persisted, and complete a diploma or a degree? If we have more completers And that works in our favor. So for the future, under this plan that is coming, we would need to still work to serve more students. We would still have to think about how can we serve more students with financial need, and how can we help more students successfully complete. A lot of change in store, and we would share details with you as they become available. And just by knowing a little bit of the new funding formula at this moment, the message is that we would all have to work together under the new parameters so that we can continue to thrive under the new guidelines. See, to be successful as an institution and as a district, and there are 72 community college districts statewide, we have to understand the parameters. The parameters are changing, but I'm confident that when we work together, we'll be able to do well. Finally, when I go out and meet individuals in the community, the one most common question that is asked about me is, how are you adjusting to Modesto? How is your family adjusting to Modesto? I share with you a picture taken at the back of MJC, West Campus. That is my son feeding ladders to a large sheep that he has named Big Boy. And he has been asking me to come every weekend to visit Big Boy. A few days ago, you might recall that it rained. He was asking me to bring a blanket over for Big Boy. I share with you this to give you the total picture. Yes, we all work together. We strive to do our very best in everything that we do. But at the end of the day, we work for a great organization with a lot of great people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for the Chancellor? I think also, Chancellor, there's been some requests over time with respect to a presentation from Lisa Riggs and our nursing program, and I think we have a date set for that, correct?
Yes.
You share that out?
Yes. That's April? No,
Tuesday, April 17th,
April 17.
11.
In the,
Meeting room A.
okay. So April 17th in meeting room A here at the district office.
Time.
You said 11, correct? 11 o'clock. We wanted to make sure that, she had plenty of time, at least a minimum of 30 minutes, because she had a lot of detail to share. She wanted to share with the board and others. So mark that on your calendars. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to item 5.6, grant activity update. And there's information in your board packet. Does anybody have any specific questions with respect to grant activities? Or from our Vice Chancellor of Fiscal Services, do you have anything to share? Oh, okay, information item. I'm seeing no questions. All right, we'll move right into 5.7, Guided Pathways Plan, Phase 1, Columbia College. That's the type of presentations we like right there, so thank you very much. And with that, 5.8, Guided Pathways Plan Phase 1, Modesto Junior College, same? Ditto. All right. Wonderful. We can keep this up all night. All right. We'll move on now to item 6, action items, consent agenda. I'll give the board, well, first let me ask, does anybody want to pull any items from the consent calendar?
I don't wish to pull, but I do have a comment to make about one item. I can do that after we
Okay,
get the
after we get
motion.
the motion in a second. Okay, everyone have a moment to look at those, and then I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve, and then we'll address trustee DeMartini's comments. Yes.
Uh, 21.5 years in the accounting analysis.
Yes. Yes, I believe it is, yeah. 'Cause he's...
With that, I'll make a motion that we accept the consent calendar as presented.
Okay, I forgot one procedural item before you make that motion. Trustee Beggs will need to recuse herself on one item, and that's for the adjunct list, and I'm trying to see. For the summer. I'm trying to see which one that is. That would be 6.9. So let's take a motion on those items through 6.8. And you'll make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
A motion by trustee Rojas for items up to 6.8. Is there a second?
Yes.
Second by trustee Beggs. And now we have a question or comment from trustee DeMartini.
Okay, thank you. I have been out of town and was unable to attend the pre-agenda meeting, although I did request that someone else bring this up. But one of the purchase orders is to the city of Modesto for student bus passes from the student equity funds. And I know that we've been doing that. And I just want some information back on how many students are using bus passes. I don't know what information is available. Can we find out how many times they use it to come to school? Can we find out how many times they use it to go to the mall? I don't know how it works. I'd be curious to know what a bus pass costs per student. Is it per ride? I'd just like some more details about that when that can be provided. So I just wanted to bring that up. I'm not opposed to approving it. I just would like some evidence and some data.
We brought that up too as part of the discussion at our finance committee meeting. So Al, rather than do it there, just bring it back here for the full board. That way you're not having to double down on your efforts there. So thank you. Okay, so with that, we've had a motion and a second. All those in favor for items up to 6.8 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Trustee Beggs will now recuse herself briefly, and so we can take up item 6.9, which is the adjunct faculty appointments for summer 2018 semester. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve. I'm getting a thumbs up from trustee Rojas. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Hallinan. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Okay, yeah. Now bring trustee Beggs back. Okay, so now moving on to item 7, action item for discussion 7.1, the CCCT Board of Directors election 2018, and I believe our clerk has some information on that.
I've received 3 of the responses from trustees, so if the rest of the board who hasn't turned them in, if you can return to our office by the 18th so that we can process a tally and submit. But it does require a motion.
A recommended action of the Board of Trustees each complete a ballot indicating their preferences for the CCCT Board of Directors and forward the ballot by April 18, 2018 to the YCCD Chancellor's Office for compilation. So you just need a motion from us to do what?
I'll move the recommendation that the board complete that. Although I would also appreciate the board being informed of what our vote turns out to be.
Right, we've asked that in the past, yes, thank you. So trustee DeMartini moved it. Is there a second?
Sure.
Okay, moved, seconded by trustee Beggs. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Move on now to item 7.2, Classified School Employee Week. That the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 17-18.07, and thanks to YCCD classified staff for their commitment and contribution to the district.
So move.
Second.
Wow. Moved by trustee Hallinan, seconded by trustee Rojas. Is there any further discussion? Staff have anything? Nope. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. I would just like to add that, we don't often see all the work that's being done behind the scenes by our classified staff, and I do appreciate their hard work every day here at the district. So thank you all very much. Moving on now to item 7.3, Modesto Junior College naming of building, that the Board of Trustees approve the Great Valley Nature Lab as the name for the future outdoor site, which will be established on the Modesto Junior College West Campus, currently referred to as the Outdoor Education Center.